Okay, I'm looking at the let's review some basics email. Um,
Okay.
I sent it to you from NR1 if you want to look at it with me. It's not that exciting. But
Yes.
the questions below relate specifically to the role of area coordinator, which is really the main stuff you do for Carlos. I wanted to differentiate between, certain
Yeah.
other tasks he does for me.
See
So
what it
area
is.
coordinator.
That my Proton Mail email. See, that's the most secure email service in the world. Okay. And what happened is I got logged out of it, and it's not accepting my password on my computer.
Okay.
So the only way I see my Proton Mail emails are on my phone,
All right.
and because I can't get logged in on my computer, I'm trying to figure it out. And see, like
Let's
they
let's skip
they
that.
can't help me.
Okay. So the basics of the role of area coordinator, do you want to make any comment on, like, I don't know how much you looked at the questions already, but do you want to make any comment about what is like the top goal? What is the top target? What is any quick comments before we get to my questions?
um, I, the top goal, I mean, is talking to and recruiting builders, or talking and reaching out.
Reaching out, say more.
Yeah, well, like calling the builders, talking to them,
Okay.
making sure everything, making sure they're just kind of follow up, that kind of stuff.
Follow up with them. All right. So for area coordinator, what's the key measurable result I'm tracking to determine the effectiveness of your work?
Mm, the I'm sorry, say that again.
What is the key measurable result that I'm tracking to determine the effectiveness of your work?
Um, clo- Closed jobs.
Mm, okay, the number of closed jobs, that's close. I put a side note. In other words, for what purpose do I pay you money? So to track closed jobs, is that your answer?
To yeah, lack of a better way of putting it, I guess.
Okay. So it's cash flow. So it's closed jobs and paid jobs in
Mm,
the amount. So it's not
right.
that we got six jobs, it's that we got $6,000 or $600 or whatever.
Okay.
Closed jobs is obviously part of it, but it's cash flow, it's payment. It's Ken Klein that
Sure.
pays right away, or drawing service that pays right away. That has massive value relative to CJ, who pays us a small fee, 6 months later or whatever. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
and I'm looking for an improvement in cash flow over what I did when I'm working the area 2 hours a week or 2 hours a month. If you can't significantly improve the cash flow from me working a very short amount of time on that area, then that's not a good sign. I'm looking for
Sure.
people who are going to significantly increase the cash flow, uh,
Okay.
really for long term, but significantly increase cash flow. Uh, let's see. So next, what's the single top purpose of the role of area coordinator? So the top purpose, it's not a measurable result, but it's a purpose. What do you have to say about that?
Um, to
You may have already
main,
touched on it. Go ahead.
maintain the relationships with the builders
Okay. Keep going. Like you already talked about, what do you say? Get updates from builders? Is that
and
how you said it?
follow up with builders on the leads, and make
Okay.
sure they're working them, doing what
Okay, that's true, but it's a lot of what you're saying I hear as babysitting, what I would call babysitting, and that's not it.
Okay.
That's part of it.
Okay.
That's part of the role. You need to confirm leads. You need to know that the builder is going to pursue the lead, right? Was same as confirm. Um, but Joel can fucking do that. Anybody can do that. That's nothing. That's a
Okay.
$4 an hour job to me, or
Okay.
that's an AI job that I automate and we just kick out. Once a week we send an email and blah blah blah. That's nothing. That doesn't require. I like to call builders to confirm, but I like to call them to confirm because then I'm on the phone with them and then I can do the bigger purpose, which
Mm-hmm.
uh, think about how I operate with Kent or whatever, if that helps you. What is your top purpose of the role of area coordinator?
To Oh, I thought. Well, okay, I thought that's what it was.
So
um,
here's how I say it: to identify or recognize, because JR told you, who are the top builders in the area, who is worth your time with follow up,
Right.
most worth your time with follow up. Second, which is a cash flow question ultimately. So that's why the first issue is cash flow. The second issue is assess the individual builders and then ask the builders, what do you want us to do in relation to whatever leads are of most interest to you? So what builders are most interest to us, ask them what leads are of most interest to them, and then how do you want us to follow up in regard to that lead? Do you want us to email you in a week and ask, how was the meeting? Do you want us to email them in 6 weeks and say, hey, did you ever get HOA approval, and copy you in that email? Let the builders tell you what to do. Kent asked me to call people. I don't
Yes.
know how much you've seen that, but lots of people do. Aiden was like, let's just do a three-way call right now. Sorry, Adon. I say Aiden because Adan is how he spells it.
Sure,
I know
sure.
to pronounce it Adon, but I fuck it up sometimes. Um, so they're directing my process. That is your job, is to ask them, how do I
Right.
help you make us money? If you're not doing that, you're not doing the job.
Gotcha.
The area coordinator job is go to the builder, especially the top builders in the area, and you have to keep assessing those builders too. If you start getting the sense JOZ or CS or whoever, you know what? I don't think this guy is really, he said he was going to do blah, blah, blah in a week, and 3 weeks have passed and the homeowner just said he was a no show or whatever. Well, then fucking he's not a priority builder in the area. So
Right.
you need to know that cash flow is the issue. You need to know that assessing and reassessing the builders is an ongoing process. We're going to have builders who are out sick or get too busy for 3 months or go on vacation for 2 weeks, all of those issues. So you need to know who's on the top of your list for that area. You need to know what your areas are, I guess, and then what's on the top of your list for that area in terms of the builders. And then you call them. Then you connect with them and find out which leads are of most interest to them and how do they want us to act on them. That's the job that you've had with Nicole and with everybody else. And if you haven't done it, then you haven't been doing, you know, what I see as your job. If you have been doing
Right.
it, great. Um,
Actually, I mean, I've been doing the only thing I haven't been doing, and you and I have discussed this, and it's going to change, is the how do you want me to follow up? Hey, do you want me to call them? That kind of thing.
okay.
The other two things I've been doing regularly,
The other
but
two things are what?
the identify the builders,
Okay.
recognize the builders, and you know, what do you want? You know, as far as the leads and stuff like that. What do you?
Okay. Which leads do you
And
want or not? Okay.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I haven't been doing, I guess, to the extent that I need to be doing is, hey, how do you want me to contact these people? What do you want from me? What do you
Right.
want me to do? And I do that with some, like with Bradley Hall. You know, he and I are on that, have that rapport, and
Right.
so
So I
uh,
mentioned it with Kent because he's probably the first builder that I did it with so directly and so often. And I thought you and Carlos heard me do it. Like this is exactly how I interact with him. He got tons of leads. Just, it's about me trusting him and us really being, if he's our customer, then that's what good customer service is. Tell me which ones are most important to you or most valuable to you so as far as specific cases is what I mean, and recent cases in particular. And then what do you want us to do with those? And then once we get through that list of, if only has two or even five with Kent, then I have others to ask him about. I have tons to ask him about from spring that I haven't got to. He hasn't done anything with them. I haven't asked him. They're neglected, but uh, my target with those has been to uh, assess Michael Reyes and other folks to determine what do I want to have as my kind of plan B if I contact those homeowners and uh, they say typical things like it was, Kent, I liked him, but his quote was higher than I want to pay. Well, that's why I'm talking about Richard Simeonoff or Michael Reyes. They're a little more cheap, right? You
right,
clear?
right, sure.
Yep. So the top purpose of the role of area coordinator is know who the top builders are and ask them what they want us to do for them.
Okay.
Okay. What is the preferred method of fulfilling that purpose?
Phone calls.
That's correct. As a bonus method, why is that method preferred?
Because there's no implication you're actually speaking to them and hearing it from them.
There's no implication. You mean like there's no presumptions?
Yeah, right, right.
Okay.
No implying of text
Yeah.
messages. You don't.
Okay. That's exactly right. You got it. So we saw that as such a clear case with the 916 stuff for Nicole and Crichton, I think it was.
Right.
So you know, you if these things, one of the things I said to Carlos was, how long have you known that these were the answers? And, he said, oh, for months. I'm like, okay, cool. I expected you to say, I was hoping you'd say that. Um, however, even if you knew some of this or all of this months ago, it's natural that over time, these things will be really fucking clear.
Yeah.
You're going to see things go poorly. You're going to see things go well. And you're going to notice why and how. It's fucking obvious. If we talk to builders and ask them what leads are of most interest to them that we've recently sent, and I with back to your call to Steve Noblet a while back, I think it was in September, could have been the
Mm-hmm.
very beginning of this month. I expected you to ask him from the beginning about the carport project in Boulder, and I don't think you got to it in the whole phone call. Remember that call?
I do, and you're
And
right. I didn't because
so I
you're
want
right.
to start with that simple yes or no. A lot of times, if it is a brand new lead, even if I'm kind of thinking they're going to say no, then it's a simple question. And then we can set into, okay, well, if you're not going to do that one, are there any others that have come through lately that you want us to uh, follow up on, that you want to guide us on how to follow up? And if he says no, I already covered that with JR, but thanks for asking. That's that would be fine. I think that the way that we present it will have them go, oh, you know what? I really appreciate you asking. And no, I just covered that. I don't have anything new since 5 days ago or since 2 days ago. And if we are accidentally calling them where I called them 5 hours ago and you don't know, well, fucking, I don't think that's terrible. I think that that's not ideal. But then they're like, shit, you guys are on top of this. I think it could leave a good impression. And ultimately, we want to get in the mode of, I'm going to call you 2 times a week. Tell me what 2 times a week, date and time you want me to schedule my call with you. And if I don't catch you on those times, then here's my hours, here's my office hours, here's my number. Like if you don't always want to pull up the 720 number, then one of the number you could either take one of the numbers that we hardly use, like 515 Iowa, and just always
Mm-hmm.
have that on, and basically that becomes Rafa's number. Or that you are going to take over that number because you'll always have it on your thing, but nobody else will be mainly working that one. Or like 904 in Florida, we don't have much going on, but that one's associated with the email that you use
Right, and I have that
exclusively.
one on all the time, actually.
So that's what I would suggest, especially for Florida or people, relatively in the southeast, to give them the 904. And if you want to give people in the west part of the US, a different number that you also basically take over as yours, whether it's Iowa or somewhere else,
Okay.
we'll need to discuss which number that will be. Um, uh, so that, like, I honestly, 720 would not be the one, because 720, when somebody calls it, it always rings through to me. I currently have it forwarding to me. So
Uh,
I would want to either turn that off or else uh, have you pick a different number, as far
you
as
have
that
one
area.
in Florida that does that too, right?
Well, this phone is a cell phone for Florida. It's not part of the Google Voice system. Then
Okay.
the 754 Miami number forwards to the Google Voice app on this phone. 407 in Orlando forwards to basically my toll free number, or my main number.
Right. Okay.
And I have a Tampa phone number on here. The 941 number doesn't land on my phone. So 904 is the one I'm least attentive to, and 941 doesn't have any overlap with any of my devices
Hmm.
currently. And 941 is a pretty active area and number. Yeah, because I use it
Right,
for
right,
Tampa too a lot. All right. So okay, so you did pretty good on that, and your awareness that asking builders, you know, which leads do you want us to follow up on, and how and when do you want us to do it, as a follow-up question.
right, right.
That is your job. That's what I do. That's what you should have been doing. And if you can do that in
Somewhat,
phone
but not as
calls,
much. Yeah,
great. And
yeah.
it's easier, I think, to get that across in phone calls, because sometimes the builders have to kind of brainstorm, well, how do we want to handle that one? Do I want you to copy me in that email and but direct it, address it to them or whatever? They need to make it, they need to, they don't already know these cool answers necessarily for individual cases. They have to think about it. You may need to go into the calendar and say, well, I see that blah, blah, blah. Like they'll say, this one's important. And then you discuss it with them. You can suggest,
Hmm.
how about I check in with you in 2 weeks and ask what's next or whatever. That is part of the job too, especially for builders that are long-winded or aren't really,
So let me ask you then. Say I do
on
that,
top
and
of
I
it.
say, hey, Adon, I'm going to touch base with you on this one. Just move it out on the calendar 2 weeks so nobody messes
Yeah,
with it.
of course.
Okay, just making sure. Don't want any.
Yeah, you manage the calendar. You
Okay, just making sure.
I
100%.
move shit backwards. I move, yeah. If you're doing, how are we going to follow up? And it's in 2 weeks, then of course you move it forward to the date that the
Right.
builder says, I want you to check in on such and such around such and such time, 3 weeks from now or whatever, 3 days from now, whatever. And
Yeah.
then what's the method? You don't need to make most of those outreaches. A lot of them are going to be an email or a text, but uh, it's kind of be natural. If you're talking to builders a lot, they're gonna fucking update you before they ask you to follow up in 3 weeks as our safety net. But in 2.5 weeks, you talk to them and they bring it up on their own. You're
Exactly.
gonna be
Exactly.
skipping. You're gonna reduce uh, the default thing that Joel is doing all sorts of stuff all the time. That's not really going to be the case if you're talking to your top builders and really serving them, knowing what they want and serving them well. Um,
Exactly.
some of the emails, like I scheduled an email today. I'm just like, I'm going to write it up and schedule it. I'm not going to wait for whoever to deal with it next week. I went, or Friday or whenever it was set for. I was planning to do it. I went ahead and did it, and that's fine. A lot of times that's faster than, it takes almost the same amount of time to write the instruction for some emails as to just write the email and schedule it, especially where I'm just replying to an email chain that's already there. It's so easy sometimes. So um, I want you to manage the area and set those follow-ups for Joel, but also be ahead of them and look at ideally you should be looking a few days ahead. And that is not probably historically true what's going on. We're just trying to keep up with the calendar day today. And we maybe look at the day before or a couple days before, and
Actually,
that's about it.
I
Maybe,
really do that. I really
okay,
do that.
good.
When I pull up a builder, for example, like
Mm-hmm,
say I'm going to call Nicole,
mm-hmm.
well, and I type in NEM, and I look from 2 days ago to 2 days ahead on anything that's scheduled for her, and look
Okay.
and do that kind of stuff. So
That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's and they have the schedule calendar. Once you do the search, for NEM, then how it shows up. If you make sure you just see those 5 days in a row or whatever that week.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
it's all set right there. And there are, for NEM, she's new, so this won't be the case with her. But for somebody like Kent, you know, we've got a bunch of good leads for him that are not in that 5 day period. And you
Right.
don't necessarily want to get through 2, 3, 5 weeks ahead. But the point is, we're going to be 5 weeks behind and 3 months behind with Kent. And we're never getting to those things unless we keep up with what's current, stay ahead of Joel, and let Kent guide those conversations. And we need to talk to him a lot. I don't know if I know Carlos spoke to him yesterday, but I don't know if they really did a big update because I think like Kent was driving and they were gonna talk a little later or something. But um, Kent and I don't know really who else to mention. Maybe TA. There's
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. I don't want to start a list, but there's a lot of builders that we've given a lot of leads. DTP is another one that comes to mind. He's not active now, but we've given him so many leads that we're not keeping up with. And
Yeah.
at some point, we've got to reach out to those homeowners. Well, we got another builder in the area now, and then we have a ton of reactivating to do in Broward County. I know we do, but how we should do it is, template, copy and paste. Hey, it's going to be the same fucking thing over and over. Hey, you have a garage conversion. Durant got busy, so he's not available to quote anytime soon. But we recently had Brandon. His schedule has. We became aware that his schedule has some availability in the near future, so he'd like to quote your project. He did ask us to tell you that for a garage conversion with plumbing, you often will be paying over 150 a square foot, um, you know, for the turnkey service.
Okay. All right.
So that's actually probably one of the most complicated examples I could give, but that would be a great thing. And those 3 sentences or whatever that was, you can copy and paste that. I'm for sure 25 people in Broward County from this year that have contacted us about garage conversions. There's plenty of those.
Okay.
And one of the twists is some of them you want to look a little closer at it because sometimes it'll be people who said, "Well, I bought a home. There was already a garage conversion, but there was no permit, and it's really a QFD lead or some other thing." But
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot of leads that you can do a copy and paste thing like that. So once you set it up for that type of project, then you blow through those. Then for the detached garages, you have a similar email. Hey, Durant's, blah blah blah, and Brandon's available now, and he asked us to mention the following price ranges for detached structures. A stick frame garage will typically be to 120 a square foot and up. A concrete block garage, 150 and up. Are those price? Let us know if you're interested in speaking with him. I mean, that would be kind of the shortest version
Okay.
to keep
Okay.
it simple, right? So, um, so there's two things with that. To me, once you do that email, it's so easy to just go through. Once you do one of those, you just go through. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to find 15 of those. I promise. Maybe not for the detached garage, but for the garage conversion, there's a lot of them. And also for like carport enclosures, I didn't get a price from Brandon about carport enclosures, but so there's a lot of them. You can just copy and paste. You can go through and set those emails up. I would probably not defer that task to Joel. I think it would be easy enough and rapid enough for you to, you look at it, you make the assessment. Yeah, that's a copy paste of the one I just wrote. And you go through and you just, boom, crank them out. And I bet they'll you can do quite a few. And Brandon can't keep up with all the possible yeses, but we're not going to get when we're going to be screening out people. There
Okay.
our price references are going to there may be some people who maybe we should ask it a question where if they think that price is too high, they actually tell us. So when I say, would you like to speak to Brandon about this? That isn't probably the best way to phrase it. I'd actually like to know, you know, well, that's not terrible because if they reply and say no, then that implies that the price is too high.
And what do we do at that point?
Dump the lead, put it in dead or
Okay,
cold or
that's what I
whatever.
just want to make sure.
I mean, we
just
can
just
we can
dump it.
mark it as, it's possible that Durant's price would be lower, but he's got to come back and say, we'll get to that later. That's more
Yeah,
complicated.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right, so you got a few calls. If you want to check
Yep.
in with me later, fine.
Okay.
We didn't talk too much about Central, but you could do a lot, Justin. I mean, fucking Tennessee, we've got a lot of builders now there, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
thank you. All right,
All right. Talk to you in a little while.
all right. Bye.